Dwight had walked into the office just like on any other day of the week. He saw Ben waiting for him at his desk. Ben had been waiting for Dwight to come into the office to discuss some things that were of great importance to the upcoming transition. Dwight wasn't a fan, but he did like Ben. Ben's personality was kind, understanding. He had empathy and reluctance about what was happening. Dwight could tell Ben wasn't a fan, so he felt he had some camaraderie in this somewhat helpless situation. Maybe even an ally if he could turn things around. Malik, on the other hand, Dwight hated Malik with a passion. They didn't get along one bit. Malik was arrogant, pushy, and it was very obvious that he was gunning for the top position. Over the past few years, there was a transition in progress at the company Dwight, Malik, and Ben worked for. Individual Inc. Dwight was the head of security. That meant both physical and digital. He had roughly 2,000 people under him, and they worked diligently. Night and day, they were assessing and mitigating threats. And they were good too. There wasn't a threat that could penetrate Individual Inc. from the outside. Well protected and well guarded. What Dwight and his team could not foresee was an internal uprising. An uprising led by Malik and Ben. It started small, quiet, almost innocuous. Malik and Ben started out as cleanup, trash removal, nothing spectacular. Bathrooms, floors, lights, they kept the dust out until one day. Malik had always been ambitious. He wanted more and more power. Ben, on the other hand, was quite content, happy to be wanted and useful, just carrying out his function, trying to hold things together. Both Malik and Ben shared the responsibilities, and as Individual Inc. grew, so did their team. They went from being a two-person cleanup crew to over 50 in a very short time. This wasn't even on Dwight's radar. It was too small to even consider, and plus, it was internal. But Dwight wished he hadn't been so naive. Malik, seeing his power grow, wanted more. Ben was just happy to keep things as they were and didn't complain, didn't make a fuss. Malik eventually made a pitch to the head of Individual Inc. to move into security. He pitched that dust, debris, and trash was a security issue, and he would head it up. Dwight looked after external threats, and Malik and Ben would see to internal threats and cleanup. The bosses agreed, and so it began. Malik and Ben started to grow. At first, just 50. And over the next couple years, they would rival and even take out much of Dwight's own staff. It wasn't instant, it wasn't sudden, but it was gradual. Dwight was in a position where he had to comply with the bosses, even though he didn't agree. At first, Dwight went to talk to Malik, but Malik's intensity was just too much for Dwight to handle. Dwight knew something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Something about Malik was just off. Ben, on the other hand, sure, not great that he was a part of Malik's team, his right hand, so to speak, but Ben was a bit more reasonable. Dwight didn't really like Ben at first, but it was Ben's laid-back personality and influence with Malik that turned Dwight. They had a few formal meetings at first, but eventually they started having lunch and just hanging out. They found they could have somewhat of an amicable relationship. Dwight was almost envious of Ben's laid-back personality. In comparison to Malik, where Dwight saw a lot of himself, Ben was different. If something happened, good. If not, no worries. Dwight wanted to know Ben's secret. What was it that made him so content amid the upheaval of his environment? Ben was so in his own world and Dwight so trusting that Dwight didn't even see it coming. Malik was working so intensely behind the scenes that he had almost taken over not just the department, but the company. What started off as just cleanup had not just become security, Dwight's department, but also the company's strategy and direction. Malik was gunning to take the head position of the company. No one else knew this but Malik. Malik was hell-bent on destroying the company, and Dwight along with it. Decades earlier, Malik's father was removed from Individual Inc. for insubordination by Dwight. Malik's father was ruined. The family fell apart. Malik's mother left and his father's heart gave out. It all happened so fast. Malik, now an orphan, having to find his way in the world on his own, vowed to one day take revenge. Today was the day the last domino fell and Individual Inc. died. Thanks to Ben and Dwight Sell's relationship, Malik Nant got his revenge. This has been a reading of Canned Sir by Sunil Modi.